Good morning, folks. We'll begin with perspective on the magnetic fields of the Sun. Besides the north and south magnetic poles, there are umbral fields connecting sunspots, coronal fields arching over and connecting vast distances across the Sun, and interplanetary magnetic fields that extend into space. This billion-ton plasma filament is helpless as the electromagnetic forces of our star toss her around. Top story, folks. By the time tomorrow's news hits the internet, the meteor shower will be over. This is mostly a show for North America, but indeed anyone who can see the moon late tonight or early tomorrow before sunrise may see it get tagged once or twice. We expect a brand new shower in the early hours UTC tomorrow, with a tiny chance of a dud and a tiny chance of a major visual display. Now we're looking at last night's upload, sped up times 10. Folks, we have beaten the long-term temperature flux to death on this channel, but this is our first year-by-year examination of the IPCC's domain. There are 20 years of projections, raw data, and regression lines shown. If you missed it, head over there after this, and it will be linked for you below the video as always. Talk about a surprise. We have only seen disappointing CMEs and coronal hole streams for a while, so when a dense shock was followed by a speed ramp over 500 kilometers per second this morning, I can tell you, I was surprised at the strength. Plasma temperature went from 3,000 to 90,000 Kelvin and was a strong Uyen candidate. Within a few hours of the impact, they went from a 20% formation likelihood in the next 5 days here to formed, numbered, spinning, and maintained south of Mexico. Already a strong system for flood potential via the Tropical Measurement Mission. We're starting the rest of the weather watch in the South Atlantic. Multiple systems here, but the precipitable water overlay helps show where the concerns are. Convergence drawing back from the land might flood the coastline. Shifting only slightly eastward, we notice a couple convergences that South Africa should monitor to know exactly when the next band is coming. Good news is the lows appear to stay south of the continent. Up in the Bay of Bengal, we had some shear and a lack of development, so all formation warnings are cancelled there, but the system does technically remain. Overlay here shows a funneling of moisture towards New Zealand and wet potential around the coastlines of Australia, especially in the southeast, but indeed the islands further east and even Perth out west are under the clouds. In Europe, we have had flooding due to a maintained southward flow on a low system and the multiple lows encompassing the actual cell. They're drawing the moisture on the eastern lead and have been producing the storm events for the last 3 days. Humidity remains in the southeast of the U.S., but here let's watch the pressure funnel it at the west coast as well. That thin area will take a good bit of rain along with the convergence areas to the east tonight. This is where the flows meet out of the Gulf and the north, and they mix most out to the sides of the head-on collision. Solar flaring? Not a chance. The Earth-facing sunspot situation is dismal. Small developing groups lack the size to produce large flares, and more importantly, they lack the magnetic complexity to do so. We see separated blue and red in terms of umbral cores, side to side, with no strong development between them. Earth is magnetically connected to the Sun with the departing spots. The solar wind impact is indeed the top space weather story today. Our shield is managing to handle itself just fine, but the sensitive meters are certainly detecting disruption in near-Earth energy. Next coronal hole is still Earth-facing. Coronal fields doing a jig while avoiding boxing out the opening itself. Current conditions and shots of our star to close. Eyes open. No fear at 6:40 a.m. Eastern Time, and that's the news. Be safe, everyone.